Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the program agenda. Thank you for joining us today, April 13, 2022. Happy birthday to my many friends and to many of you who are celebrating their birthday this April, particularly my friend Manny Dimaculangan, and then there's former Undersecretary Narciso June, Santiago, and many more. And bukas ako naman ang batiin ninyo. But nonetheless, thank you very much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. And it's good to know that our friends and viewers are all doing well. But please, please, please be careful. I know many of you are going to travel today, tomorrow, maybe even on Good Friday. Please be aware we are still dealing with COVID in many parts of the country. Very, very low cases, but it only takes one. Okay, so as I mentioned, it's a Wednesday, April 13, 2022. And today we will be interviewing, hopefully, two guests. First would be Commissioner Greco Belgica, chairperson of the Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission, who is also running for senator this year. And he will be followed by our guest who was supposed to be with us yesterday, but because of the confusion time zone, I don't think he's in a different time zone, but because our program has replaced, he got the impression that our program is in a different time. But anyway, we hope to be talking to animal trainer and behaviorist Matt Lowe. So please join us this morning. And thank you for being subscribers. We really appreciate it po. Lalo na yung talagang gumawa ng paraan para magka-Cignal TV, Cignal satellites. Thank you for being subscribers of Cignal TV, viewers of One News PH, here on channels 8 and 250, as well as those of you who regularly watch Agenda, whether on Cignal, on YouTube, and on Facebook. Maraming salamat po. Also to PLDT for their home fiber optic internet. Okay, having dispensed with the introductions, our daily starter for today, okay, is from the book of Mark, chapter 10, verse 27. Jesus, looking at them, said, "With men it is impossible, but not with God. All things are possible with God." I am just pointing this out to you today as you make plans, as you wish you were somewhere else, as you hope things would be better, whatever it is you are wishing, hoping, and praying for, with God, it is possible. Even if men, women tell you it's impossible. Alam niyo, yesterday I was watching a documentary. It was a 24, well, it wasn't a documentary. It was a gathering, a collection of snippets, interviews of Elon Musk, excuse me, the richest man in the world nowadays. And when you watch it on Facebook or YouTube, you will really realize how he defied the odds. He made the impossible possible. And I mean, that is from his human effort. Paano pa kaya? I'm sure at some point he must have been saying quick prayers. He must have been doing hallelujah prayers, etc. So with men, it may be impossible, but with God, it is possible. Believe me, I have seen this happen in my own life. What people said would never happen, they happen. Anyway, let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star today. Medyo malungkot po. Yesterday was a sad day, a glorious day, depending on which side of the Philippines you were. But for many people in the Leyte area, it was a sad day. Let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star, April 13, 2022. The headline, landslide buried entire Leyte village, according to a mayor in Leyte province. Okay, ito po, rescuers searching for dozens missing and looking for survivors after an entire village o isang buong barangay in Baybay City, Leyte was buried by landslides caused by incessant rain from Tropical Depression Agaton. Search and rescue missions continue in what is left of Barangay Cantagnos, which is home to about 210 households, according to Mayor Jose Carlo Cari yesterday. Apparently, there were two landslides. The first one was a minor landslide, which gave people enough warning to get out, but there were still several people who failed to leave, and the second landslide caused them to be buried alive. So ayun po, napakasakit. And if you look at the upper portion of the front page of the Philippine Star, you will see that photo of rescuers, government personnel rescuing or helping people evacuate. And it is really a very sad, tragic sight. Anyway, equally sad, equally tragic, well, hindi naman equally, pero for many farmers in the Philippines and members of the Senate, it was a tragic Senate session yesterday because apparently the Department of Agriculture, the Bureau of Customs, and the DTI, their officials were all blaming each other. Nagkaturuan po, nagkasisihan na naman over smuggling of agricultural products. And the highlight of it all was the fact that Secretary William Dar, for the third time, did not appear at the Senate hearing. So medyo galit na yung mga senador, but I suppose the philosophy of some people is just wait it out because time is running out due to the elections. Anyway, on a lighter, more inspiring note, okay, the other major news is that 8,241 out of 11,402 examinees have passed the Philippine bar exams. Okay, so for a record high of 72.28%, mataas daw po yung passing percentage na yan, unlike past exams. That center photo is a photo of one of the examinees who just saw his or her, di ko masabi, sobrang iksi yung gupit eh. His or her photo, her saw the results and saw her name on the list of passing examinees. Okay, meanwhile, the MMDA is eyeing, and matagal na po nilang sinasabi to, panay pa sa kalye nila because you can expect that it will probably happen after the Holy Week. There is a proposed new coding system. The MMDA is proposing that every car owner will have 2 days that they cannot use their car or at least during the coding period. Hindi po natin alam yan if that, well, here it goes. Okay, based on the scheme being eyed by the MMDA, vehicles with plate numbers ending in 1 and 2 will not be allowed on roads on Mondays and Wednesdays. So 1 and 2, ending 1 and 2, You cannot be on the roads Mondays and Wednesdays. 3 and 4, Mondays and Thursdays. 3 and 4, Mondays and Thursdays. 5 and 6, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays. 7 and 8, Tuesdays and Fridays. And 9 and 10, Wednesdays and Fridays. The coding scheme will be in effect 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pwede na rin. Total, karamihan naman rush hour laang. Okay. Now, the remaining news, probe vowed on Singapore pre-shaded ballot. Newly appointed COMELEC Commissioner George Garcia has promised to take up the matter of the pre-shaded ballot that showed up in Singapore during the advanced elections of OFWs. Okay, they will take it up today. Meantime, that photo is the Philippine Star receiving a donation of 20 bicycles from the Angelo King Foundation for frontline workers. And finally, the last bit of news, forensic expert Dr. Raquel Fortun yesterday presented initial findings saying that some drug war victims were violently killed. Yun na nga po ang problema. Pag pinatay ka, kahit unless you were given the... Never mind, I will not comment on that. Anyway, those are the front page news of the Philippine Star today. Okay, now let's go to, let me just check. Okay, we will go for a quick break, and when we return, we will be speaking with Greco Belgica, Commissioner of the Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission, and chairperson, and also senatorial aspirant. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran. And once in a while, I get to read some of the comments, particularly on Facebook, about the program and about how I host it. And there was one viewer who pointed out that Cito should reduce or lessen his editorials or lessen his talks because it takes away time from the guest. And this is the explanation, ladies and gentlemen. Kasi me, I don't get upset when things don't work. I use it as a teaching opportunity or an opportunity for viewers like you who made time to understand what happens behind the camera or even in front of the camera. For instance, I just read to you parts of the introduction where I said we will be interviewing Presidential Anti-Corruption Commissioner Greco Belgica, who is running for senator this year. Unfortunately, his flight to wherever seems to have been advanced or whatnot, their scheduling. But by the time we got to him to start the interview, he had already boarded a commercial flight somewhere. And as you know, bawal po. Para doon sa inyong hindi alam, it is not allowed for you to make phone calls once you're seated and inside a plane and your seatbelt is strapped on and the plane is preparing for takeoff or even for landing, as the case may be. In fact, during the flight, you are asked to put your phone on airplane mode because there is a possibility that it could interfere with the navigational equipment of the plane. Now, having said that, so nakausap ko si Chairman Greco Belgica and he was so apologetic. He said, biglaan, I'm here at the airport, napaaga yung flight, blah, blah, blah. So, in other words, we can't interview him. Now, this happens. It doesn't happen all the time. There are times when a guest, especially during the face-to-face interviews before COVID, there would be time, and many of you have heard this na si Manny Piñol nga, si Senator Bigla, Secretary Manny Piñol at one time, I remember, that's why I love the guy, bumaba na lang ng kotse, pumunta doon sa may Shaw Boulevard, ewan ko, magta-tricycle na lang yata sana siya, and he conducted the interview on the sidewalk because he couldn't get to the studio because of the traffic. Okay? So, but on my part, when this thing happens, I have to dribble. Ayan. Kasi nung mga panahon ng tatay ko, ang lingwa ay stretch. Magdadaldal ka dyan. Habaan ninyo yung kwentuhan kasi wala kayong may interview. In my case today, it's a dribble. So sometimes when we know in advance na, ay, Kuya Cito, our first guest has to drop out, pinatawag sa Malacanang. It's happened. It's happened so many times. They were either called to Malacanang, they landed in the hospital, they got caught in traffic, or in the case of Greco Belgica, his flight was pushed up early, so he was inside the plane by the time we were ready to do the interview, or we were scheduled to do the interview. So I have to make dribble. So when I find out in advance, which today I didn't, I normally just do the commentaries on the front page. Ika nga, kasi ano naman ang gagawin natin? Wala naman tayo ibang magagawa kung hindi ika nga mag-dribble. But that's what we're paid for. We're paid to talk about this issue. So please, there are days I am not editorializing for editorial sake. There are days when I don't just talk because I'm a talkative person. Admittedly, once you get me started, it's kind of hard to stop, no? But on days like today, it's my job that I carry on the conversation in one form or another. In fact, back in my days in the UP College of Mass Communication, in Institute of Mass Communication pa during my time, I remember our terror teacher, Lou Tuason, college secretary, who said, mamatay ka na, wag ka lang mag-dead air. Okay, meaning you cannot go silent night or live on TV or silent night on air. Kasi it can be the end of your career. In fact, that happened to me at one time. I was told when I was in Channel 2 for The Insider, I was told, oh, when we come back, the camera will pan to Karen. O di ako, quiet na lang ako sa isang tabi. But when we came back, the camera opened on me. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't even know I was on air. But that incident was reported back and made an embarrassing issue in the papers. Someone even wrote na, naku, si Beltran talagang bulol, utal, walang masabi. Without them realizing, I wasn't supposed to talk. It was the camera was supposed to open to someone. But nowadays, ito tong reality ng work from home naman. I have to depend on myself. I have no choice. Anyway, let's carry on. The interview with Greco Belgica was supposed to be about his run for the Senate. Now, if you don't know, Belgica was actually a graduate, or is actually a graduate of San Beda University with a degree in marketing and commerce, and earned his postgraduate degree in international trade commerce at the University of California, Berkeley. So this is new to me. Ika nga, sabi ko, when I interviewed Gibo, there are things that I did not know he did, in spite of the fact that we are childhood friends. Kumbaga, well, hindi naman childhood, kasi 10 taon yata yung tanda ko kay Gibo, no? But there are many things we don't know about our candidates nowadays. And I think the first thing I can share with all of you, kung total ito namang Holy Week, marami kayong libreng oras, imbis na maggaganong kayo ng Facebook, saan ba nagbakasyon si ganito, ano ba ang binili ni ganon, you might want to just go through the names of your candidates and check what are their educational backgrounds and what are their titles, where did they work, what kind of jobs did they perform in relation to what they're running for. Kasi may mga tao na, tulad si Chodoro, Gibo Chodoro, he's a lawyer. And then he's worked in the private sector. So kumbaga, and then he worked in government. Dick Gordon, for instance. If you look at Dick Gordon's career, and please, no, I shamelessly tell you, I will vote for the man, you can see na talagang puro service, public service, government service, etc. Okay? Manny Piñol, if you go to his website today, you will find out that his campaign has been called educational campaigning. Hindi po siya nangangampanya for education. He is educating Filipinos regarding our state of affairs, yung kalagayan natin regarding agriculture, regarding the environment, and regarding food security. Kasi alam niyo po, bigla akong ginanahan kay Manny Piñol. Why? Because I know that he knows what he's talking about. Bakit kanyo? When he talks about we can raise fish and not import fish, I know it can be done. Why? Because before I even got into media, nasabi ko na nga dun sa interview ko kahapon kay Manny Carlos, kay Bishop Manny Carlos, I was in resort development and operating a bed and breakfast. One of the things I learned and I discovered many years ago, this was 89, 90, 91, up to about 92, ay you can have the most wonderful tourism destination, bed and breakfast resort. You can have white sand beach. Pero saan mo kukunin ang pagkain ng mga bisita? Okay? Because you have to feed your guests. Even what you call it, even our Lord Jesus Christ had to produce fish and bread. Okay? But anyway, I'm now beginning to talk. Sabi sa inyo, don't get me started. But anyway, I learned that you need to have fish cages to provide fish for your guests because pag bilog ang buwan in a full moon, hindi naman na literal ano, if the moon is round. No. Pag kabilugan ng buwan or full moon, you can't get fish. So you have to have fish cages. Having had a small fish cage ensured that for us. Having sources of pigs in the barangay ensured we could feed our guests. So anyway, napalayo tayo sa usapan. Anyway, I hope you learned mga aspects of broadcast when the guests can't or don't appear, what I have to do. So anyway, we'll go for a quick break and we'll finally be able to interview our animal behaviorist and trainer, none other than Mr. Matt Lowe. We'll be right back here on Agenda. when it rains, it pours. And at least here, it's just technical problems, and that seems to be pouring quite a bit today. We already had Mr. Matt Lowe on cam, but there were audio problems. We couldn't hear him. So while Matt is great at training animals, I think he has not yet spent time training his computer to do what he wants. But I can relate. Hindi naman po ako nagyayabang kasi when I can't deal with it, I call a friend. I call my wife and I ask her to deal with it. In fact, I always tell her, please, whatever happens, I have to croak first, because without my wife, I cannot function. I cannot do anything. I cannot run my computer properly. All I can do is click Word, click mail. Yes, I can do Zoom now, but every time I have to do a new Zoom and there are requirements, we have to, I have to call my wife and holler for help. Anyway, we are trying to get Matt Lowe, animal trainer and behaviorist, and we will see what happens in the next few minutes. In the meantime, we'll just carry on with the program. And as I was saying earlier, I would encourage all our viewers that please, if you are going to have some free time, aside from clearing your phone of all the junk you've accumulated, spam messages, etc., please, please make time to check on the background, the CVs, biodatas, personal achievements, and career path of the candidates, because you will be surprised to find that there are many candidates nowadays who, apparently have more to offer than we realized. Kasi yung iba dyan, talagang politiko lang, professional politician, has done nothing in life except be a politician. But there are those who actually work private sector, public sector, etc., etc. And then another point to consider regarding, kasi marami po nagtatanong, there are a lot of people who keep asking me who will we vote for, etc. Whoever you want to vote, please, all I ask is be confident, be sure, like any businessman or businesswoman, that you have done the due diligence and that you can actually protect, defend your position or your choice regarding that candidate. Kasi at the end of the day, I learned of a very interesting philosophy or policy of a business person and an employer in media. And sabi niya, as far as I'm concerned, you can promote, you can praise and throw all the hallelujahs you want on your candidate, as long as you are sure that your candidate is what he or she claims to be. And all I ask is that you spend all of your energy campaigning for your candidate instead of criticizing the opponents of your candidate. And, especially in media, parang don't dictate on us. But when you really think about it, it made perfect sense. We don't have to waste energy criticizing others or attacking others, because it will not contribute to our candidate. What will promote our candidate is our testimony. If we are good people, if we are logical individuals, kung tayo ay mga taong may saysay, may maayos na katangian or pagkatao, maniniwala ang tao sa atin. They will believe us, we will have credibility, and we are better promoting the good of our candidate than criticizing the enemy. Kanya ako po medyo ang pinopost ko na lang ngayon yung mga nakakaaliw, maganda, nakakatuwang mga bagay tungkol dun sa kandidato. Kanya-kanya na tayong kulay. I mean, okay, it's Pink Wednesday for me. I don't know. Yesterday, dun po sa Ateneo, it was very MOA, it was very interesting because LaSalle came green. LaSalle are known for green, and Ateneo is known for their color blue. But many of them, when they reach MOA, nag-pink din lahat. And, more than the politics, I think it was a statement that they could cooperate. They could get along. They could go along with an idea of positivity because yun nga po, no, we should make sure we know who our candidates are, what they stand for, and tunay ba. Kasi may nagtanong sa akin, bakit ayaw mong suportahan si ganito? Honestly, I cannot say that I hate or don't like or whatever a particular candidate because sabi nga na we don't know everyone that well. But in certain cases, okay, please look at who is around the candidate. Sino yung mga nakapaligid dun sa kandidato na nakikita ninyo at ano ang record ng mga nakapaligid? Kasi you can have the best person, the most well-intentioned person running for office or running a company, but if that person, okay, is surrounded by hoodlums, criminals, selfish individuals, self-serving persons, ganon, o kaya talagang magnanakaw, nothing will happen. Even a saint, when surrounded by idiots, will result into nothing. Nothing gets done. Kasi nga, sabi nila, the presidency is not about one person. The presidency is about the administration. Okay? We vote a president, we vote a vice president, but the two of them do not determine the outcome of the country. Their administration determines the outcome of their country. Kung nakapaligid nakapaligid I just saw Matt there, but we will check if his audio is in already. Kung ang nakapaligid mga walang inisip ko hindi pang sarili. And you can see this, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have to cast aspersions, okay? All you have to do is just Google. Google mo yung pangalan na nakapaligid dun sa kandidato mo. And I'm saying for all, yung kanilang spokesperson, yung kanilang mga campaign manager, yung kanilang mga supporters, kanilang financier, just Google their names. In the last so many years, lagay mo lang, okay, controversy or questions regarding this person. Naku po, you don't need to be an expert. Google will show you all of that. The same way, Google will show you all the good things about a candidate. Kasi yan po naging issue and I just realized that. Okay, anyway, thank you for being patient with me. I have to talk. Anyway, let's bring in Matt Lowe, animal behaviorist and trainer. Matt, are you there? Okay, we still have an audio problem. Yeah, can't hear you, Matt. Yeah, I can see Matt Lowe shaking his head in frustration. I know, my friend, but unfortunately, you are a good animal trainer, but you got to train that computer of yours to do tricks for you. Anyway, Gab, please check that, and we'll go for a quick break. Let's see if I can reconnect so that we can bring in Matt Lowe, even for a few minutes, or if not, he's going to have to come back next week. Okay, we'll go for a quick break. There, finally. Try and try, but never cry. And we finally have proof of life. Let's bring in animal behaviorist and trainer Matt Lowe. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. How are you? Thank you for your patience. I've had some technical difficulties, to say the least.
Okay, well, we don't have much time, but let's just do a sampling of what
Sure.
you do. So, and then I'll bring you in next week. Now that you've figured out what to do, okay? So what exactly, where are you based? How did you get into becoming an animal behaviorist? Please run us the spiel.
All right, I'll give you the short version because I'm quite aware of the timeframes that we've got here at the moment. I am in the Philippines at the moment, but I fly between the Philippines and Australia. I train animals for movies, TVs, commercials, and I also fix domestic pets. I started out my career in Australia training dolphins, whales, and sea lions at SeaWorld Australia, traveled around the world doing that sort of thing, Mexico, Japan, Solomons, Vanuatu, etc. And I have settled here in the Philippines, and I've realized there is an absolute massive niche for people needing their domestic pets trained. And I'll tell you the reason why. Is because people train their pets the way they train their children. Now, it seems silly to say, but you wouldn't train a dog the way you'd train a horse, or you wouldn't train a horse the same way you'd train a bird, but people train their pets the same way they train their children. So it's just an education thing, and I'm here to help people get them to understand and connect with their pet and speak the right language to their pets.
Okay, but you're an animal trainer, or because people try to make differentiations between, oh, he's a canine trainer, oh, he's a SeaWorld trainer, etc. I mean, is animal training one and the same, or are there really specializations?
Well, it's a good question, okay, and it's not as simplistic as an answer as what you might think, okay. So the philosophy behind animal training, the training principles are somewhat the same, but the application's different from species to species. So I can train a dog with certain behavioral science or behavioral psychology techniques, but the application between a dog and a bird is going to be slightly different. You understand? I can't train a bird
Correct.
with the same application as I can a dog. For example, if I move fast towards a dog, the dog's probably going to sit up and listen. If I move fast towards a bird, the bird's going to get a fright and fly away because they're a fight or flee kind of animals. Dogs are not like that. But having said that, the training principles are the same. It's the application that's different from species to species.
You mentioned that there's a massive need for animal training, understanding of the animal behavior in the Philippines. What makes you say that?
Well, because when you have a look at any animal that you put in a cage, you put within four walls, I'm here in the Philippines right now, and in the background, I can hear there's 100 dogs barking. Why do the dogs continue to bark at absolutely nothing? And the people just pretty much ignore it because they don't actually know how to fix it. They would love to be able to yell out the window and say, "Oi, be quiet," and the dog be quiet. But They don't know how to do that. They don't have any tools at their fingertips for fixing something like that. So people just give up on it and just let it happen. Let's take walking your dog, for example. There's two positions in a pack of dogs. There's leaders and there's followers. Have a look next time you're out and about and have a look at the people walking their dog and tell me who's the leader and who's the follower. In order to be a leader, you need to look behind and see who's following. There's nobody following you. You're following the dog. That's the way people actually train and walk their dogs. People just don't know any other way.
Okay.
I actually teach them some training principles and give them some skills so they can better communicate with their dog. Lots of people say, hey, stop that, don't do that. Well, dogs don't speak English. They don't speak English. They don't understand English the same way as we don't understand barking. But we need to develop a toolbox of skills where we can communicate and get our point across.
Okay, now clearly we don't have much time left because of it's been a bad day for me as far as technical difficulties is concerned. But hey, I don't cry. I roll with the punches. And you know what? I'm going to schedule you after the Holy Week. And I want you for a full show. You'll be the only guest because what you've been saying makes perfect sense. There are just so many people who buy dogs but don't take care of dogs. I'm guilty, according to my wife, of not loving dogs because I see dogs as working dogs, not as pets. Some people see them as pets and they become their children. So, you know what, Matt, please do come back on the show next week. I'll ask Gab to schedule you and we'll have a go at it. And I know that people will learn so much from you.
Well, that would be great. I look forward to coming back. You know, that's what I live for, is educating people so they can have great relationships with their pets. And I like a win-win situation.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Matt Lowe, and have a good week ahead of you this Holy Week, and looking forward to seeing you next week. Okay, and now let's go to the week's blessing for the last day of agenda this week, because tomorrow we will not have a program up to Sunday, but I don't know if we'll have replay during the weekend. But anyway, here's the week's blessing. It's from Billy Graham. Reverend Billy Graham, I not only know who I am, I also know where I'm going. May your troubles be less, your blessings more, and may nothing but happiness come through your door. Life without God is like an unsharpened pencil. It has no point. And that's today's agenda, a day full of stretching. Thank you for joining us. Please observe the Holy Week with reflection, with prayers, and may you be blessed with revelation in the coming days. Thank you. Please keep it here on One News PH.
Bakit?